Alrighty, folks. Whoa! Forgot the monitor speakers were on because I had my headphones on. Sorry about that. It has been a day. Yes, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Hi, George. Good to see you. I did get the bigger Stream Deck, and I've had it for a couple weeks now, or 10 days anyway. Debuted it last week. Oh, hey, the video auto started behind me. Huh, look at that. Anyway, it never worked. That never worked before. So anyway, yeah, got the, point the camera at it. Let's see, that is, we don't really have that shot. So, that's right. Yeah, you were late. So yep, got the big one down here now. Let's see. So anyway, let me set up a whole bunch of new shots, including the, well, that's interesting. Including, what the heck is it doing? Well, I've got something screwed up. And okay, here it is. So yeah, let's do this thing where it's got the visualizer kind of bleeding through both layers, and then I can do this version of it. And if I don't have music playing, I don't always notice the visualizer as much because I've turned up the audio reactance on that. So anyway, yeah, so got the new one, lots of new shots, and the ability to show some things that I couldn't show before, like, being able to, being able to stick up this so I can show both computers. Asaph, good to see you. So I can show both computers now, and very strange, and camera, and I can also do the same thing with this. So I have the down shot here, which is really cool, and we may use that some tonight. Thanks, VP, because we're going to be talking about multipoly. And so I can shoot, a shot of the multipoly, and also give, be in here, and bear with me because I can barely see what I'm doing. I think that says multipoly, and I go here and bring up the multipoly VST now and have everything up at the same time. And then switch to, whichever one I want to see full screen. Like we can go to the multipoly itself, or to the Ableton Live computer and directly to the Korg editor computer, which is also doing some double duty, obviously, because you can see a chat window that's not responding in the background. It looks like it's having Craig's usual problem with either the video being 20 minutes behind or the chat being 20 minutes behind. So we'll just make that go away since it's being useless. So anyway, yeah, I can do all those cool things. And of course, still the chat and all that stuff. I am going to keep things short tonight because I got about 3 hours of sleep last night. So I am exhausted because I was up at the regular, 5:30 this morning, and it's a little after 8 now. So I'm ready for a nap. But I do want to I want to get into some more with the multipoly. So yeah, it's not even much for you, Chef. I know you keep crazy hours down in your way. Excuse me. So yeah, so I'll be dosing up on an extra Dr. Pepper this evening to get a little bit of caffeine in me. And no, it won't keep me awake at night. So anyway, there was stuff in the jam, and I just kind of killed the jam. That didn't end quite the way I had expected. But just real quick, let me do that. We'll hope it's there, and go over to Cam 2. Nope, it didn't do what I wanted. That's okay. So the multipoly was making this sound. And the sound that this is making, it's one of my own presets. It's called Shape of Things to Come. And basically, we're going to go over, we're not going to make this same patch again, but we're going to go over kind of the way I made this patch tonight. What we do tonight will be a little simpler. Just in the interest of time. This took most of a day. And it's still not quite finished. I don't have anything assigned on the Kaoss pad yet, but we're going to get in. So I'm going to finish this up at some point, and we'll probably make it available for those with multipoly. There's a preliminary version on Luke's Discord that I think I put up, but it's, like I said, still not quite finished. And so let's go back out to the wider shot, maybe. There we go. So the Polybrute was in tonight. I think it's really nice having my two very favorite synthesizers right together now. I'm really happy with that. And for those who hadn't been for around a couple of weeks, obviously the Take 5 is still not back in the system. So, I'm not uncomfortable with it being gone. I'll tell you that. I like the Take 5 a lot, but I think there's a lot more utility in the a lot more utility and a lot more unique about the multipoly. I kind of came to a conclusion that I'm really interested in synths that are unique in some way. And as nice as the Take 5 is, it is a 2-oscillator analog polysynth with a filter, so it's a good synth, and I took it to turn these headphones down. I took it to a jam session a couple weeks ago, and I had a good time with it. But I'm actually thinking that I'm going to let the Take 5 go and concentrate on the stuff that I'm really into. So that's a thing. So anyway, also in the jam tonight, let's see, we had another multipoly patch, but this was coming from the VST. Let's see, yeah. Oh, actually, I got Shapes of Things to Come up on the, wait a minute, let's see, what do I have in the VST? Let's take a look. So this one's playing another one of my patches, another new one called Electric Landscape. And this one's not ready to go out anywhere yet because that's something I ran into. We'll get into a little bit later. But I'll tell you, this thing excels at interesting pads. It does a lot of other stuff really well too, but it really excels at deep layered pads with lots of interesting movement. Let's see, we got that. We got the multipoly. Op 6 was in, but you can't really do anything from there. So we'll go back to that. Now we'll go to that. Decisions. Let's see. Well, it's not playing at the moment because it needs to have. It needs to be getting time. That was a the timing on the Op 6 patch was tied to sequencer clock, and I don't want to start everything back up again. Tell you what, let's do this. Bring it up so I can see it too. We'll hit stop on that and that and that and that and that. And then I'll go ahead and let time roll. There you go. That's the op6. So it was playing through Stepic, and Stepic needs to have time the way I've got it set up. So I needed to have clock. So stop that. Let's see what else was in the mix tonight. And Wave State was there. There's a little bit of a breath of air that comes in after that if you listen careful. That's a pretty sound. That one's not one of mine. That is a preset called Subtle Thoughts. And if you've got a Wave State, you've got that one. Nice sound. So anyway, let's get back to multipolys. I'm going to play the live one here for a second. On the shapes of things to come patch, this has got some. Let me do this so you can see what it's doing. So it's playing, you know, and my fingers aren't on the keyboard. This thing's got an aftertaste, so to speak. So when I play the chord, you know, will come up and all this stuff will happen. And it'll come back. And this was a remarkably easy patch to build to it. Like I said, I'm still not done with it. I still have some stuff that I want to add to it. But that's the kind of thing. This was all done. I think this one was almost all done with the, hey, Kurt, good to see you. We got to get together, buddy. Kurt is a very interesting friend of mine. And he's expressed an interest in getting into making electronic and ambient music. And what's really fun is he just lives the other side of town. So we're going to get together, I think, and have some fun. I hope. So anyway, let's get into this multipoly thing. I'm going to bring up the VST just because, as usual, it is easier to see what's going on when we have software on the screen. You know, Kurt, Jeff, you live down in the dangle of the country. What did I say? Did I say that you live the other side of town? No, Kurt lives the other side of town. Anyway. So we are going to look at, I'm going to pull up shapes of things to come on here. And I've already got my library, so here we go. And so what I've got, almost everything in here, I've got 3 layers going. And almost every layer in here, or every shape in here, I do have a DW8000 wavetable here. Oh, you were jesting. Okay. It would be fun, Jeff. Oh my gosh, it would be. It's, you know, I've recently got into jamming with folks locally, and it has been a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. So the way this patch works, the primary sounds are on layer 1 or layer A. Let's do this. sort of pigmenty, sort of, but there's so much more here. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, it looks a lot like Pigments in a lot of ways. It does look like Pigments. In fact, we can, this whole area down in here is very reminiscent of the Pigments modulation matrix. And the way this whole lower third of the screen works. And the question is who borrowed, well, yeah, they obviously borrowed the feel because Pigments has been out for a long, long time. And Korg were working on this, obviously, for quite some time. The more I use it, the more obvious it becomes it becomes obvious how very deep this thing is and how much they did. It astounds me every time I use, and I say this again and again, but every time I use one of these Korg synths, it astounds me how much their programmers eked out of a Raspberry Pi. And, it's like a lot of people gripe, that it's just a VST running on a piece of hardware. And sure, I guess it is. But, man, I'll tell you what, they put a lot into this. The only thing that and I said last week, there's like 2 shortcomings, I think, of the synth. Maybe 3, and one is, I wish they hadn't cheaped out on this keyboard. It's better than the others, but still, it's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same actual mechanism, just with some steel weights glued up underneath, which means that I'll be able to make it a little better by adding more weights. But there's that. The other thing that this thing just cries out for is an expression pedal input that's not there. And none of the synths in this series have an expression pedal input. So, but those are like the gripes that I have about this, and that's it. I think I said a couple weeks ago, too, that it is not necessarily a great instrument for creating live. It's a fantastic instrument to play live, but it's because of because of the you're working in 4 layers at once, keeping track of where you are in the moment can be kind of difficult. And so, as with all of these these little Korgs, I find it much easier to design on the computer and then move that sound or move that patch to the instrument and perform on the instrument, because you can get in and assign your most used controls right here where you can get to them, or on the others, in their particular spots. I am really with you, Jeff. I love the whole, I love the VST in a box. And one thing I really wish would happen is I wish that Arturia would put Pigments in a box. I would be all over that. And the Astrolab doesn't cut it for that, because Astrolab is really intended to be an analog lab performance keyboard. At which it does very, very well, but you can't edit everything. So I really would love to have a full version of Pigments in a box, and I'm sure it would cost $5,000. Even if it was basically a little PC in a box, which is really what it would be. That said, I was perfectly happy to spend that kind of money on a Korg Kronos, which is a Linux PC in a box, with some keys and stuff around it. So, the right instrument, I'm perfectly happy to spend that kind of money if I have it. Church performance-ish is what it's like. Yeah, geeked out Pigments. So not just church performance. Here's what I found, from gigging. When I had the Kronos was an all-out workstation, and I could design any sound I wanted. And I I loved the Kronos because when I was doing cover songs, I could cover the sounds in the song and match them. But when it got down to playing, I was actually only using a half a dozen controls at any given time, except for organ parts. Organ parts, I used all the drawbars. But for most other parts, once the sound was designed, I basically played it and had a couple key controls assigned somewhere, and that's exactly how you design in Analog Lab, or in the if you have the full V collection from Arturia, you design your sounds, you load them up as presets in Analog Lab, and you perform them with the half a dozen controls that you've got at your disposal, and it works great. It's a great way to do it. You're not going to design sounds on a Keylab or on the Astrolab. You're going to do the sound design on the computer, and I think that's a great. It's a great workflow. It really is. So I'm not. I don't complain. I don't either complain about a VST in the box kind of scenario with a lot of these modern synths. The modals are that way too. The argon, the cobalt, and the carbon now. They're the same way. It's easier to design using the app than it is to design on the hardware, and then you perform on the hardware. And I think that's a great way to do things. So anyway, speaking of designing, here we go. I'm going to move this over a little bit. So again, this is the Shapes of Things to Come patch. And the way this patch is laid out, the primary sound is in layer A. If I were to take B and C away, oh, I'm sitting here playing on the one keyboard, and that keyboard is not controlling, so I'm wondering why I'm not getting any changes. So let's play on the keyboard that's actually controlling this. So this is the primary layer of this. And then we can turn that off. Layer B is doing this part. And I did use a wavetable for that. This is a wavetable out of the DW8000, the old DW8000. Which, as clunky as that synth was to use, it was capable of some amazing sounds. And so we turn that guy off, and then this layer is doing this part. So the way I've got it set up is that the layers are all coming in at different times doing different things, depending on how long you hold down the keys. So anyway, that's the patch. I've got 4 wave shapers going in this layer, the wavetable going in this layer, and then 2 wave shapers going in the 3rd layer. So it's wave shapers everywhere. It's a CPU hog, but I wanted to see what all we could do. So what I want to do, let's go ahead and we'll break this. I'm going to go ahead and load a init patch. There's no init button on here. So we'll just grab the init performance. I say we'll grab the init performance. There we go. This has that function where if you change patches, it'll, for at least a time, play out underneath it'll play out while you're changing patches and stuff. So getting into this, I'm just going to turn on just layer A for now. And to start with, we got a good old sawtooth. Let's go ahead and flip over to the wave shaper. And the one that comes up first, it defaults to this one called Berkeley. And just real quick, going through what all these things do, you've got a small collection of controls around the waveshaper. And so basically, the waveshaper kind of sort of shifts the pulse width in this kind of, does something a little different than typical pulse width, I guess. I guess if we had a square wave, it would look like a typical pulse width modulation. And then gain brings in wave folding. So if the gain's all the way down, you can see this is just plain sine wave. And as we can vary the pulse width, which will change the shape of it. Bring in different harmonics. And then the gain fold is simply a wave folder. And although not exactly the most, it does some interesting things in the wave fold too. So that's what we've got going on primarily in the waveshaper. And you can choose from this whole selection of wave shapes to start with. The other thing that you can do is you can change the way the shaper shapes, and you get a choice of either a sine wave affecting the shape, or a triangle affecting the shape. So we can start here with this. If your input is here, then you're basically going between saws and triangles and reverse saw ramps, and then the gain still does the wave folding. And then other controls here, you've got the ability to there's an LFO for the pulse width, hardwired. And then one that I very rarely use is pitch envelope. There is a dedicated pitch envelope and a dedicated pitch LFO that will affect that. And you got octave and tuning controls. So let's go ahead and start with this triangle shape and see what we can build in this oscillator of this layer. One of the things I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to go ahead and set up triggering so that we turn the single trigger off. This will play in later when we get into how the LFOs and envelopes work. I'm going to make it poly, and that'll be the place to start. And let's see. Let's see. I spent a lot of time building pads. Let's see if we can build an interesting lead sound instead. So, of course, our hands are crossed up. I can see there's going to need to be some more layout changes here in the studio. What you aren't seeing is that I'm having to twist myself around so that my one hand works the mouse and I cross under it to get to the keyboard. But that's my problem. All right, so from this part on, we get into some pretty standard subtractive synthesis, and we could do another oscillator if we wanted to, but for now I'm just going to do a single oscillator. I love this to. I like to. Well, let's make this one not simple, Jeff. So what I'm going to do, we'll do this real quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this oscillator. I'll paste it here, and then. I'm going to slightly detune it. And so I'm going to take the first oscillator. So we'll go ahead and turn on the stereo mix and filter assign. I'm going to take the first oscillator. I'm going to run it into filter A. I'm going to take the second oscillator, crank this guy up and run it into filter B. And filter B is currently bypassed. We'll set these up to parallel. This little guy drops out and switches between parallel and serial processing. So now we can do, let's go ahead and put on this guy, we can put a MS-20 low pass filter. They got a ton of different models for the filters, and on filter B, let's use a mini Moog, or what they call mini LP, which is mini low pass. So we'll give those two different filters. And we can go ahead and start monkeying with each envelope, or I mean each filter has its own envelope. So let's go ahead and turn oscillator 2 off again for the moment, and let's build the sound that's going to be oscillator A, or oscillator 1. So let's go ahead and open up the filter. There's one thing that would be nice with this, and I have run into the same problem with the inbuilt synths in Ableton Live, is there's not a lot of space down here to see what you're doing. Because you can draw in your filter shapes, but there's not a lot of real estate to work with, which is kind of a pain. But fortunately, they have knobs for that. So another thing that's interesting about the multipoly, these envelopes can go negative. So there is the 0 point there, and we can actually go negative. And see, when people put things in the chat, I can't see there because that ends up right over top of my mouse. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to expand this up, like some of the newer Ableton synths. You can start to expand that better. But it's a thing. It's not a huge deal. But it is a little annoying. So let's take the sustain negative, and I'm going to change that. Can I change that slope? No, I can't change that. Oh yeah, I can. There we go. Change that slope a little bit. Arturia Software Centers wants my attention. It'll have to wait. All right, so let's go ahead and move the cutoff down here somewhere and turn the envelope up. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Your ears must have been burning. We were talking about you earlier. No, it's not Serum 2, because I don't even have Serum 1. I better watch out. I'll get in trouble for that. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use oscillator 1 to kind of build the attack portion of this lead sound. And then we'll use oscillator 2 to fill out the rest of the sound. So let's go ahead and work on that. We'll turn oscillator 2 on. And I'm going to make this a little more different than where we were, because I'm actually going to change up the waveform underlying. Yeah, something like that. I'll summon the damned, so to speak. Trying to find a... All right, so let's do the filter B envelope. And what I'm doing, I'm using the filters to... So there's a bunch of folks that are currently streaming Serum 2 as we speak. I'm up against a few other folks, but like I said, I don't have serum 2, so I don't even have serum 1. So let's see. Let's go ahead. We're gonna need to I'm going to bring up the attack on that so that it's coming out or coming in as the other one is coming out. On this one, I'm just going to leave the sustain all the way up. Oh, good. Glad to know it sounds good on the road. So let's get a little more attack on that. Or try to. Am I doing the right thing? Oh, because I don't have the filter set up yet, dummy. It's too slow now. Okay. And I need to turn the filter B envelope up. Soften that front end. Yeah, there is a lot of competition for serum, Paul. You know, you've got Hive 2 and even Vital and you know, it got into that whole thing that I was into a few months ago. It's like, do we really need another one of those? All right, let's see what happens if we bring these two together. Sounds a little like someone stepping on a duck. So let's add a third one that's going to come in even later. And so you notice I'm not even using the amp envelope on any of this. I am going to go ahead and do a quick change to it. I'm going to make the release, just change the release on it, and that's all. And that was, see, that third oscillator is in at the moment. Okay, so let's grab another wave folder here. And I'm going to pick yet another one of these guys. Let's turn everything off for the moment. And I'm going to make my input the... Now let's go ahead and stick with the sine wave on this one. I'm going to run oscillator 3 into both filters. So the way you assign filters with this is you, in the mixer section, the filter A/B control is set up so that 0 is all the way to filter A, 100 is all the way to filter B, and then anything is in between. So now we have... So the other thing we're going to do to kind of make this a little different, I'm going to use, and I haven't gotten into a lot of the motion yet that's going to go along with this, because even a lead sound should have a lot of motion to it, I think. I'm going to go ahead and use the pitch envelope. I think I can get away with this, and use it to drive the gain on oscillator 3. So the way you would do that, it's pretty simple. We're going to go ahead and I just click here, and I can now add an intensity, add a controller in here. So we just hit the plus. I'm going to leave that morph LFO on there for the moment. Switch this guy down, and let me take the chat out so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go to generators, which is all of our modulation generators, and I'm going to use the pitch envelope, and I'm going to set that up that way. Just turn it up a little bit. So now we have this modulating that guy there. And it's not going to touch anything else because these controls are zeroed. The pitch envelope controls are zeroed. So I'm going to really give a long attack on this. And we'll bring the sustain down, give it a long decay and a long release. So if you look close, you can see this on this gain control. When I hit a note, you'll see that slides up. So if we turn all of these on, we should have some composite sound here. Right, so now I'm going to add a little bit of motion to everything. We'll start. I'm going to take and turn the pulse width LFOs on both of these up a little bit in opposite directions. So I'll bring this one up a little bit this way. You can see that as I bring it up, that starts to wander. I'll bring this one down. It'll do the same thing, 180 degrees out of phase. I think we need a little more. It's very subtle. All right, let's get crazy. Let's change the way that LFO works. Right now it is set to be, I want to make it free run over here. I'm going to change the shape to something a little more interesting. We'll do one of these randoms, I think. And I'm going to set it so that it matches the tempo of the project. And you can kind of multiply how it fits with that. Let's see. If I play this, is anything going to make noise? No, we got to stop that. There. So basically, I've got it set to oscillate at the same tempo as the song. Go ahead. I'm going to turn this up even more, and I'm going to show you why in a second. I'm just going to go all the way on these. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it, let's see, so we got, I'm going to make these fade in over time. I'm going to bring this third oscillator down in the mix a little bit. And so I'm making these filtery kind of sounds, and the only thing that the filters are doing is opening up and then backing off a little bit at the start. All the rest of the motion is coming from the motion of the wave bend or of the wave shaping. So I'm going to speed that up. Right now I've got it set to whole. I'm going to let it set to half. we're going to make it even faster because we can. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of filter motion, not a lot, just to kind of make things a little more interesting. So and this is going to be pretty simple. I'll just go ahead. They've got filter LFO controls. So we'll start with A. I'll bring it up a little. And slow it down. We're going to go ahead and make this free run also, so it doesn't re-trigger every time I hit a note. This I'll set that to whole notes. Set it to, let's do sample and hold. And turn it up a little more. Oh, thought I changed the tempo on that. I didn't. Filter A, LFO. There. Oh, let's crank the speed up. Make it interesting. And I'm going to go to the other random, I think. Maybe. That's better, yep. And make it a little more subtle now. Excuse me. That was too subtle. That down a little bit. And we can do something interesting with the other one as well. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the LFO up, down into the negative territory. So this is actually looking at this LFO. Make it a little more subtle, but not a lot. And we can do all the other kind of subtractive synth things. We can do ring modulation and hard syncing and cross modulations, and I can actually audio rate modulate the filter from any number of things. Let's grab that to the ring modulator. Hey, Luke, I had the chat down, so I didn't see. Good. Thanks for coming. Sorry you're being inundated with too much pop. Although I would say if I was watching, I'd be hoping that Tay would show up as well. Jeff, I think you should at least buy the software. You know, as Luke says. It's fun stuff, and you know, I'm just turning stuff on and playing. So just some things we were talking about, some of the stuff in the Discord and some other places recently, you know, about oscillator drift. I think it was yesterday, during and following Luke's stream, I believe. all of this stuff, you can set all these different drifts within the multipoly, and in the VST, it's very easy to find. It's not quite as easy to find in the if you're using the editor software, but it's all in there. Everything is in here. You just have to find it. It's over here now. So the variation for those variations are over here on the editor. And just for those who don't know, this editor allows you to edit directly on the hardware, and you can basically, you're changing in real time, and you can then save directly to the hardware from here. Whereas if we're working in the VST, then we have to do some juggling to get things from the VST to the hardware, and I'll show you that. We'll do that as part of tonight's fun. So so anyway, you can change this whole drift section, and right now it's all maxed, and but with it maxed, it's really it feels good, if that makes sense, or at least I think it does. So let's see, we can turn, I'm not going to mess with key tracking. There's a whole bunch of other modulation tools over here, but I don't think we need those for this patch. So what effects are turned on? Because I didn't turn any on by, well, let's see, there's something in here I want to change. Where is it? For this, we're going to turn up some unison. Give it 3 voices, make it thick, crank it into stereo, and detune it a bit. Oh, that's wonderfully flat. Wonderfully fat. So let's see what we got going on in effects. It sounds like there's a delay already on. Nope, nothing's turned on. So everything you're hearing is just within. We haven't turned any effects on. I'm not even sure. Let's see. The reverb is not, main reverb is not even turned on. So all that you're hearing is just what's going on within modulation in the synth. So we'll go back here. Let's go ahead and add some effects. I'm not going to mess with any of the pre-effects. There are a bunch of them. I'll turn them on and show you what you got. You got compressors, EQs. There's another ring modulator. There's another waveshaper. So we can take this whole thing and then run it through another waveshaper, that's kind of fun, actually. And there's a bunch of different presets for it, but it's like. That's a sound, and we can mix that. So we could do, just bring it so it's like 50-50 mix. Maybe a little less. Bring the input trim down a little bit so it's not overdriving so much. And but I did want to turn on some other effects, mostly delay. And so I'm just going to do, let's see. Let's do a stereo cross delay thing. And I'm going to set the bass note for each to 8th dotted, because that's what we do. And this says ×2. I'm going to bring it down to ×1. And let's see what we get. Try to see if there's anything else while I'm noodling, if there's anything else that needs to be tweaked for this. Right, I want to go back to the synth layer here and let's see, go into clicky synthesis. Here we go. I want to add some more modulation. I'd like to be able to control. I'm going to want to control these wave folding gains with Aftertouch. So I'm going to take the chat out while I do this, so you can see what's going on. But basically, I'm just going to grab. I'll grab this guy first, and I'm going to say I'm going to add the extra. I'll leave that there. Go for controllers, and I'm going to turn on Aftertouch, and I'm just going to turn it up a bit. And I'm going to do the same here. Oops, wanted Aftertouch. I haven't figured out yet the way this responds to Aftertouch and Poly Aftertouch is a little strange, and so I haven't quite got my sense of exactly what's going on with that. Still experimenting. See, did I remember to turn that up over here? No, I didn't. And I'll say this is, even with just regular Aftertouch turning on, this is responding as Poly Aftertouch, or at least I think it is. And I think no multi-poly patch would be complete without having Kaoss involved. So we'll go ahead and start assigning the. Let's see. We can assign this thing here equates to the actual physical trackpad, Kaoss pad on the instrument. So, you know, it's and you can see if you look on that. Let's see if I can get closer. I have no idea where this is going to go because I haven't set this up. But let's see if I go in on this. Hey, it actually went there. So you can see, you can't quite see my hand, but I'm moving that pad around, and this guy here is tracking, basically making control information in 4 directions, and it's got physics involved, so that what they call Kaoss physics, so that it will bounce and respond and come back to 0 or however you have it set up, which allows you to get some really interesting modulation going on. And so that I'm going to move this around. Oh, we're looking at the hardware, and we're playing with the software. So this equates to that. To the pad, and you can see it does the same kind of action. You know, with there's gravity and friction, and you know you can change the kind of shape of this bowl thing that it's riding on. Let's see. I'm going to take the chat out and see if I've missed anything important here. All right. So I'm going to jump back into layer A here, and let's see, what should we play with? I'm going to say, since we haven't really done much with oscillator 3, I'm going to go ahead and use the Kaoss to make some modifications in oscillator 3, and probably to things like cross mod amounts and that kind of thing. Yeah, that could be fun. Let's start with cross mod. I'm going to leave the amount turned. I'm going to leave it turned down, and so we're going to set one of our sources for the cross mod intensity to, again, controllers, and we'll make that Kaoss XY or X, left and right. So as I now, and we'll turn this up a bit. I don't know how much we're going to use it at, but let's see. So if I come back over here, hold the note. Not terribly. Oh, I know I got to turn. Is that? I don't want it to go too far anyway, so. And what we can also do is set the physics up so that it gets launched automatically. We'll go ahead and set that to, where is it? Note, where is it? Note on trigger will work. So now every time I hit a note, it kicks that ball off, and right now it's set in that direction. And I'm going to turn the friction down so it goes a little further. All right, let's find some other things to throw on there. Oh, let's see. So let's take and put, we'll do some more normal stuff. We'll hit the filters. That one's already moving around a lot. That one's moving around a lot too. I've got everything moving around a lot, except for this guy. Okay, so we can go ahead and grab the. We can put pulse width negative numbers on there. So we'll go ahead and go again to controllers, Kaoss, put this on the Y, pull it down. And to get that a real effect of that, I may actually have to pull that down a little bit, change the sound. So if you watch this waveform, when I hit the note, and you can also watch the little red mark there. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I hit a note. You'll see that starts off going wild and then basically comes together, and that last little thing at the end, that's that. We go back over here to the Kaoss. That's the action of that circling the drain, so to speak. we can probably throw some other stuff on there, even though I've got other things going on. Let's put it's doing a lot of stuff. Oh, I know what we'll do. Let's just go ahead and start up a second layer. What the heck? And it'll have a lot more stuff going on underneath of this on the Kaoss pad. So we'll go into layer B. We'll go ahead and turn it on, and we're going to go ahead and set this guy up for another wave shaper. And we'll pick up, let's see. And we'll do that. We'll turn layer A off while we're working, just so we know what we're listening to. And apparently I missed my, oh, there we go. All right, and so let's just go straight to modulating everything with the Kaoss pad in a big way. So we'll go here, we'll grab controllers, we'll make that Kaoss. Yeah, we'll do Kaoss Y on that and crank it up. And put this on X. Gotta turn it up. And I am going to put a little moving filter on this just because I can't let filters sit still. It's not in my nature. We'll make this one slow. And turn it up a bit. Whoops, what did I do? Did the wrong thing, didn't I? Oh, I turned the envelope up. I wanted the LFO up. Probably a little too deep. There we go. That'll be good. Turn the single trigger back off. Turn that free run. Give it some random phase too, just to make it interesting. All right, and we're going to give that its own effects because we can. Let's see. We'll just give this one just some delay. Just leave the stock delay. I think will be fine. All right, turn that whole other layer back on. That's nice and fat, and I don't even have a sine wave going on in this. So that's nice, or a triangle, that's nice. I'll go ahead and give it into the main effects. I'm going to take the two layers and give them a little bit of reverb. And I'm just going to use the stock reverb. It's fine for this. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it. Turns me on. And you know, Jeff, we've talked about this before too. We get into sound design, and it's down a path. I know we got about 10 minutes left. So what we're going to do, I'm going to call this done for now, and we'll go ahead and save this. I'm going to call this. Let's see. We'll call this fuzzy lead. I am the author. And I'm going to put it my collection. Category 1 will be lead. And that'll be good for now. So I've saved this thing out. And I mentioned earlier that there's you've got a bit of a you got to go through some hoops to get this over to the actual hardware. So what you have to do in the librarian here, we have to go up, and we all expect, all of us expect that our file menu is over here. Yeah, no, they put it over here under the little 3 dots here. So we're going to come into, oops, I got to be in the librarian, Garen. Go into my thing, find fuzzy lead. So we go in here, and I'm going to, where's my export? There we go. I'll right-click it, export. This will then save it to, I'm going to save it to the folder on my hard drive where I'm keeping all this stuff. And say select folder. It has been saved. So in order to get this to the hardware, I can't send this to the hardware directly from the VST or the native app. I now have to go over to this app and go into the librarian, and I have to import, which I can never find. Yes, which is kind of annoying. This to me, this should all just talk together. Oh, so here, the file menu is where you expect it to be, up here in the upper left, and we can import. I can go to that same folder. I'm already there. There's fuzzy lead, and I can open it. And it says we've successfully imported fuzzy lead, and I can now select it. And it is now loaded. Now to credit, it is now loaded. You can sort of see it there. It says fuzzy lead. Now what this gets us is the ability, now I can play the Kaoss pad. And I go step off the mic while I do this, but I can play the Kaoss pad now. And you can see as it, let me zoom in there, get that other tight shot. Sorry guys, here we go. We're going to fly. If I press the right button anyway. There we go. Fly in on this. So I'm going to move the pad. You can see it bounce around there. So anyway, that is, it's good. It's not. It's a little clunky. I will say all of these Korg synths that in this series are that way. I do not want to. No, I do not want to do camera slams if I can help it. The physics involved with that would involve the gravity, I think. So anyway, that's one of the gripes that I have about the entire ecosystem, because every one of them is the same way. And I would think that they would be able to make them talk directly. I don't know. I'm not a programmer anymore. And So that was, yeah, and they should both share the same library. The other thing, and here's why I'm really on about that. I was merrily making some patches, and I made them in the editor, because the VST wasn't out yet, and I made these patches. I imported custom wavetables, the whole thing. So these patches are, all the thing, and I can't figure out how to now export the wavetables along with the preset to import it into native. And I can't figure out how to do the reverse. It's like when you export, in my mind, when I export that preset, all the parts to that preset need to come along with it, so that when I take that to another device to load it up, the whole preset should come together with its wavetables and or any other parts that come along with it. When I export a preset out of Pigments that's got custom wavetables, or out of Vital that's got a custom wavetable, or out of Hive that's got a custom wavetable, when you make that export, that wavetable is part of the bundle, and that may be the thing I haven't had time to try. I wanted to try today, but it got busy around here today. There is such a thing as exporting a bundle, but the bundle is intended to be able to export a group of presets together. So if you got 5 presets that you want to export as a group, and give to somebody else or sell to somebody else or whatever, you create a bundle, and when you import them as a group. And they all come in together, and you've got the whole shooting works. But I don't think it. In fact, I don't, and I know it doesn't do the wavetables, because I exported a couple of these things as bundles, and the wavetables didn't come over. So that's kind of a drawback, kind of a pain. But it is what it is. Still a great synth, still a great thing. I'm sure Korg will figure it out. Or at least give us some direction. Or maybe if I read the fine manual, I might see how it's done, although I haven't found it yet. So anyway, running short on time. Jeff is coming up in about 3 minutes, I think. So he's, I don't want to step on any of his time. So the only thing that I'm going to do at this point is thank you all for coming, Jeff and Luke and Asaph and George, and I know there was somebody else here, and I've lost my chat screen. Let's see. Yep, go ahead, Jeff. I'll be over. I'll drop in to see you shortly. Oh yeah, my chat didn't work on the other machines, so not sure what's. Oh, here we go. Now it's caught up. Who all was here? Let me see. Look at the participants list. I don't want to miss anybody if I can help it. Oh, all that's left is Paul and Luke and Jeff and me. I know ASF Stripe was here earlier, a few other folks. So I thank everybody for coming. Kurt was here, and hopefully he and I can get together soon and start playing with some stuff. And I think that was VP, Viral. Yep, absolutely. I'm scrolling back through the list now, Paul, since it finally caught up. Yep, that's everybody. So thanks everyone for coming. Good to see you. Thanks, folks tuning in who tune in later. Thank you. And I'm always going to do that at least once. Actually cutting back. Yeah, Kurt, I definitely want to get together. And I was talking to Donna just before I came in here. I think we'd all like to get together just generally, because we don't get together enough. So anyway, very good, folks. Thanks a lot. Good to see everybody, and I will be back next week. Until then, you all have a great, great week.